How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the top 6 fundamental do's and don'ts of buying a used car. Since my YouTube channel has grown to the level that it has, I've been inundated with requests from you guys whereby you're looking at a car on Auto Trader or eBay or whatever, and you want to know what you should look out for or what you should even be doing when it comes to looking for a car on the internet that has been used by someone else. So to try and answer a bunch of you in one video, in this video I'm going to go through 6 key do's and don'ts that I think have kind of kept me in good stead when it comes to shopping for a car on the internet or just generally buying a used car, and hopefully can help you out as well. And I'm not exclusively looking at the things that you should actually look for in a car when you're buying it and that kind of stuff. I'm more interested in just the principles of buying a car that's been used. Topic of the week this week, something I want you to comment on down below. What car are you looking at right now? If there was a car that you were looking at seriously about buying right at this point in time, what would it be? As always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff, and without further ado, let's get into the video. So starting off at number 6, it's don't get too attached too quickly. When you're shopping for a used car online, it's very easy to think that this is the only one that I'm going to get in this spec, in this price range, with this many miles on it, all that kind of stuff. In my experience, having looked at cars on Auto Trader and eBay, etc. for almost 5 years now, something else inevitably comes up. So for example, I was looking at the BMW Z3 in 2017. It was a car that I was really interested in buying, and I had found one online. It was a really good price. It was actually on eBay, and I was bidding on it. I was bidding on it on Valentine's Day of all days, during my Valentine's dinner with my girlfriend, so apologies to her, it was pretty bad of me. But after the dinner, we're on our way home, we're on the train, I'm on eBay and I'm looking at the car and I'm thinking, I've got to get this car, this is the only one I'm gonna get, I need to get it. And then it went just outside my price range and I decided not to go over and I didn't get it. Am I upset that I didn't get the car? At the time I was like, oh, that's so annoying, I wish I'd gotten it. But in reality, it didn't matter, and there are so many BMW Z3s still available in all sorts of different specs. The fact that I didn't get that one was absolutely not the end of the world. It was just a case where I got way too attached to the car and just backed myself saying that this was the one that I wanted and that's all I could have, and I got annoyed afterwards, but in reality, it was fine. So yes, number 6, don't get too attached. On to number 5 now, and it's sort of similar, but it's a do instead. Do have non-negotiables. What I mean by that is that when you're looking at used cars online, because you can't actually pick the spec yourself, it's very easy to get sort of 8 or 9 out of 10 of the things that you kind of want and then just buy and settle, basically. The law of averages says that there is a car out there with the right spec for you, or there's a car out there that's the right type for you and the right color, or whatever it is that you really care about the car. Have those non-negotiables. And then in that, be disciplined with yourself. So again, another example, let's say you're looking at an Audi TT RS because you're in the market for that kind of thing and you've got a bit of cash behind you and you want to get a nice sports car. In your head, you know you really want burgundy leather seats. You want the navigation pack on it. You want the 19-inch alloys or whatever it is that comes with the car. And you want the car in black. Just because a really good deal comes up on a white one with black interior and no sat-nav, it doesn't mean it's the right car for you. It might be instant gratification. You might get the car and be like, oh, this is sick, I'm so glad I've got my TTRS. But then at some point along the way, you're gonna think to yourself, why did I not get the burgundy leather seats? And why did I not get it in black so I could murder the car out? I think it's important to have non-negotiables in most things in life, but not being too deep. When you're buying a car, have the set things that you want and the things that you know you won't be happy without in the longer term, and then stick to those. Don't settle for anything else. It's a long-term view rather than a short-term view. Right, let's get on to the next one. Right, at number 4, it's don't focus exclusively on mileage. The amount of videos that I make where people are like, oh, you can only get a high mileage version of that car. Or you hear people complaining about the mileage on a car just simply because, I don't know, they think that that means the car's going to be less reliable or whatever. It is absolutely a fair assumption to make that because a car has done more miles, there is more potential likelihood that it may have gone wrong along the way or something might have happened to it in its mileage that has ruined it or whatever. But that's not to say that a car with low mileage doesn't have its own issues. And I'm not saying that high mileage cars are better than low mileage cars or vice versa. What I'm basically saying is that you need to do a little bit more research into the car and the owner of the car beforehand to kind of give a little bit of an understanding of how that car is actually going to be. So some of you might have seen Car Throttle's high mileage hero series that they did. That car was in really good condition because the owner of the car had taken great care of it after 200,000 miles. I'd much rather have a 200,000 mile car that works really, really well and came from an owner that took care of it and maintained it and was meticulous about the car than have a car with low mileage that was just thrashed around by an owner that didn't care about it, never put oil in it, and never really took care of it. Worn seats are much easier to live with than a ropey old engine. And another point around mileage is the fact that some cars are renowned for going wrong at certain mileages. In some of my videos I mentioned the Range Rover Sports used to go wrong within 15 to 20,000 miles. That's the case of the BMW 335i E90s that were going wrong before 70,000 miles because of a high pressure fuel pump failure and turbocharger failures and that kind of stuff. So look at the mileages that the cars are expected to do healthily and understand how much maintenance is going to need to be done on them based on those mileages. Look at cars that may have passed that mileage and look at cars that maybe have had fixes to overcome issues that are expected at certain mileages. I've just said mileages a lot of times, but hopefully you got something from that. To round that one off, simply put, don't just focus on mileage. It can be a very key factor, but it doesn't mean everything. On to another do now, and in third, I would say get a second opinion. As I said before about getting attached to a car, it's very easy to just overlook the bad points that are in a description of a car, or to go and even see a car in person and think, oh, this is really great, and overlook some key bad points that a non-biased opinion might be able to give you. If you have access to an expert, then that's great, and obviously you should bring an expert along with you whenever you go to buy a car or anything like that. That would be really, really helpful. If it's a family member who knows a lot about cars or a certain type of car that you're looking at buying, that can be super useful. But sometimes even just a friend, just an outside opinion to look at the car and say, actually, hang on, look at these problems here. I had someone come to me and show me a car recently they were looking at buying, and the exterior of the car looked utterly beautiful. It was perfectly clean, looked like it had been perfectly detailed, the rims were looking great, and even stuff like the dashboard was looking really, really good. But then the seats were absolutely wrecked for the mileage, and so was the steering wheel, and a whole bunch of the interior stuff just looked kind of gross, and there were no pictures of the engine bay at all. It made me feel a little bit wary. I was like, clearly they've taken it to some detailers and they've detailed the car and looked after it and made it look pretty. But that doesn't mean that it's a healthy car in any way, shape or form. And by having someone to be that outside opinion and say, well, actually, I know that you're looking at the car and thinking it's a great buy for the price and it looks like it's in great nick, but look at all these problems here. And then by having that outside opinion, hopefully it helps you to get a bit more perspective from the car that you're looking to buy. As I said, if you can get an expert involved, please do. It's very useful. I always have my dad involved whenever I'm buying a car because he knows everything that I would need to know when it comes to buying a second-hand car. I'd like to hope that some of you guys at home have someone to help you as well. On to our final and I think most important don't. Do not rush into it. Kind of building on that don't get attached point, as well as getting a second opinion, don't just think to yourself, I'm gonna just straight up go and buy this car because I've got the money and I'm interested and I'm in the market for it and I think it's the right one, so I'm just gonna buy it. Sometimes situations happen where you are in a rush and you need to get a car quickly, and that was the case with buying my Polo. I bought my Polo out of severe need to get to university and bring all my stuff with me. Without a car, I wouldn't have been able to do it, and my previous car had just been crashed. It was not good practice for me to just buy a car that I hadn't seen, and I basically just got lucky. My 400 quid went a long way by its just luck. And don't forget that my dad was the one that actually looked at the car and said it was a good buy and brought it home for me and all that kind of stuff, and actually did some work on it the day after we'd got it to make sure that it was fit to take to university. But putting those situations to one side, you should not have to rush into a car purchase. Don't let someone rush you into it, so don't let someone kind of push you and push you and push you to make the purchase. If they're doing that, they're just trying to shift their car and it just doesn't seem like a good situation. And you just don't want to make a bad decision because you didn't put enough thought into it. Buying a car can often take a really long time. I respect one of my good friends who bought a BMW 3 Series not too long ago, and he'd been looking at that car for over a year and he'd looked at multiple different ones and he'd been to see multiple different ones until it came to the stage where he was like, actually, this is the car for me. And because he did that, he gave himself the time to apply some of the good practices that I mentioned in this video, and that ultimately gave him a much better car that's given him a much better experience overall. I'll link to his Instagram down below. He's a really good guy and his car is pretty buff. But yes, I would say rushing into a buy is probably not a good decision. You might get like me and be a bit lucky, but it's not what you should be doing. And finally, at number one thing that I think you should absolutely do whenever you are looking to buy a used car is your research. Do your research. And I don't just mean find a car, go through all its background checks on DVLA and looking at the MOT history and the owner history and all that kind of stuff. I mean, do your research more broadly. Maybe you've got a bunch of non-negotiables, like I mentioned before, that aren't really specified to one car. Maybe they're specified more broadly. Maybe you're looking for a car with big boot space, 5 seats, 5 doors, and that's all you're interested in. Do your research, find out which car is the one that is most interesting to you, is the one that has the best reliability generally, is the one that has the cheapest running costs, is the one that has all of those different things that you do even on a new car. And make sure that you're well informed when it comes to the purchasing. If you can be an expert on the car that you're going to buy, you stand in a much better position when it comes to debating with the former owner or the company that you're buying from the price. So let's say you're buying a B6 Audi S4 and you just turn up and you buy the car and you go away with it and it sounds great and it feels great, and then you have a timing chain issue and you didn't realize that was an £8,000 fix or whatever it is. That's utterly ridiculous, the price of fixing that car. Had you done your research and seen that actually the timing chain is a key issue, you might have asked the owner, actually, have the components around the timing chain been changed recently? How many miles have the components around the timing chain done? All those kinds of questions could be really, really key in saving you money further down the line. But yes, if you can take anything away from this video, if you've watched any of my videos before where it's just full of research that I've done, do your research when you're buying a car. It can be so, so beneficial for you in the longer term. So in this video, I've walked you through the top 6 do's and don'ts of buying a used car. Hopefully you found these kind of fundamentals interesting or useful, and you can use them when you go forward to buying your first or second or whatever it is used car that you're interested in buying. If it helps, my family has never had a new car. We've exclusively bought used cars and we've generally been okay. We've had a few problems here and there, but 100% of my cars have been secondhand, and I've had a great time with them. And hopefully you can have a great time with your used cars as well. Don't forget the topic of the week. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.